Okay guys, it is confession time. The next step in the process that I took was to go ahead and do the fiberglassing along the front edge, top and bottom. I've done that process and I actually did videotape it, but I had some major issues. The first thing was I had someone sell me on a product that, quite frankly, after I got done with it, it never dried. I ended up having to pull the sheathing off, or the fiberglass off, and start all over again with different stuff. The method I used worked fine. It was a lot more sanding involved than I really liked, and after speaking with Merrill, I probably could have saved myself a lot of headache. He is basically really seriously an expert in this process, so should have called him first, but I didn't. He explained a way to do this that would be really simple, and I'm going to go back later so we haven't missed anything, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that process based on what Merrill taught me. So first things first, we have the next step would be to do this, and it came out fine. I'm happy with it. I just spent a lot more time on it than I wanted to. After that, the next thing I planned on doing is the spoilers all carbon capped, and they're ready to roll. So we're going to install the spoilers, and the first process to do that is going to be to cut the holes through the individual ribs, obviously from the spoiler bay all the way back to the center section, so we can get that down into the fuse. I haven't determined yet. I want to go ahead and run some wiring first to see if I'm going to use the servo wire or if I'm going to use the extension. The servo wire itself is definitely not going to be long enough. I'm just not sure if I'm going to wrap it up and stick it up underneath the spar here and just do extension, or if I'm going to do the servo wire down to a certain point and then extension back in. I bought different size extensions, so I'll let you know what size extension I end up using. First things first though, either the extension or the servo, we have to take the end off, because obviously we don't want to drill a hole that size in our rib, so we don't want to weaken the rib. So we need to take the end off, so all we have to drill is a very small hole so we can just barely get these wires through. And like I said, I'm going to do it as tight as I can up against this balsa spar so I can try to hide those wires. So first things first, let me go ahead and use a servo. And since we've done this build as though it was the first build anybody's ever done, why not continue on that section? And I'm going to take a servo itself and take the end off and show you guys how easy that little process is. So let me zoom in a little bit and hope I can keep things in camera here. You should be able to go to there. Okay. First thing is first. Grab your extension or your servo, whichever one, and if you want, you can mark these wires. I don't, in this case, feel the need to. I have plenty of other servos and connectors that I can compare, and if you have other ones, you don't really need to mark them. What I've always found with this process is that the wires for the extension or the servos, you kind of need to pick them out a little bit so you can get a hold, even if you strip them back a little bit. First. Okay, you can either use an X-Acto knife, which works fine to do this process, or you can use a very thin screwdriver, one for like watchmaking. This is a Stanley deal that you can get at Walmart. So anyhow, like I said, most of us have already done this, but just in case. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to make sure that we're pushing the wires up to keep from putting pressure on these ends. If we're putting pressure on it, it's kind of fighting us to try to get these little knobs to lift up. So and that's what we're trying to do. You can't go from the outside to lift up because there's no leverage out here. There's nothing to push on. But there are these little tabs that don't move on the inside that you can put your screwdriver under. And after you've done that, you should be able to lift just the corner up of one of those. You don't want to break these. And as you get the corner up, you can pull down. And you have to get it all the way up. and you should be able to pull those out one at a time. So once we get all three, and it's either the extensions, like I said, we're either going to do that with the extensions or we're going to do that with the servo itself. It doesn't really matter. And then we can just push them back in and push those little tabs back down. Try your best not to break the tabs. And we're only going to have to drill a very small hole since we've done that. Okay? Onward and upward.